You found The Secret Life of Contracts, where Olga, Mack, and Lindsey reveal the good, bad, and ugly of agreements across all industries.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 4. We're calling this one When Ambiguity Costs Millions, Apple versus Apple. And Olga, I'll open it up by saying, what do the Beatles and Apple have in common besides international fame?
Yeah, they spent not one, not two, 3 decades suing each other over one word: Apple.
Wow. You'd think really, really different businesses, right? Music and computers, they wouldn't be stepping on each other's toes, but contracts don't live in the present. They stretch into the future. And this one broke down really fast.
Yeah, because the moment you leave a term undefined, you don't avoid conflict. You delay it. It grows. You amplify it.
The ugliness, right? So today, what are we going to do? We're going to break down how one contract missed the mark on clarity and cost Apple only $500 million, right? No big mistake there, right?
Yeah, we're thinking very small here. But, let's take it back, a little back. The year was 1978. Apple Corp., the music company owned by the Beatles, is long established. It manages the band's label, publishing, licensing rights, all the things you would expect. Basically, think cultural power with massive global reach.
That's crazy. And when you say that, I can see the album with that green apple on it. It's you don't really think the two are together. But so in California, what's going on is Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak are wiring together Apple Computer. No music ambitions, just machines, or so they thought.
Yeah, so naturally, Apple Corp sues Apple Computer for, guess what? Trademark infringement. Both companies have the same name. One is in music, one is in tech, and they settle. Apple Computer agrees to stay out of music business. Simple, right?
Yeah, oops. Here's the big flaw, right? Music business, air quotes, it's never clearly defined. No examples, no use cases, just an assumption that the future will look just like the past. Yikes, right?
Oh boy. Yes, and that is the mistake number one. Any contract that relies on assumptions instead of definition is basically a ticking bomb.
Yeah, and back then, right? Think about it. Nobody thought anywhere in the world a computer was going to be a jukebox, right? Or a phone, or even a record store like iTunes, right? Nobody thought that.
Yes, lack of imagination is or lack of thinking is kind of what happened. So fast forward to 2001, Apple Inc. launches, you guessed it, iTunes. And then you guessed it, the iPod. So they don't just sell hardware anymore. They sell, you guessed it, songs. $1 a track. Instantly downloadable. It is a revolutionary technology that changed the way we consume music.
Yeah, I had one and was part of that revolution, and sure. But the problem is, right? Apple sees it and says, "Wait a second, you're really distributing music now. That's our turf."
Yes. Apple Inc. replies, where? Okay, scratch that. You're gonna have to
Scratch that.
delete that. All right.
That didn't happen. That didn't happen. I didn't see that.
So Apple Inc. replies, we're enabling playback. We're not the label. And off to court they go. Again.
Yeah, and here we are, 2006 now. They're on their third major lawsuit. each one uglier than the last. Apple Corp is arguing that the contract was breached. Apple Inc. is arguing they're still within the boundaries of the technology.
Yeah, because those boundaries were never mapped. The contract was written in a world that didn't anticipate streaming, digital downloads, or cloud based music libraries. It was literally written in a different world.
Yeah, and here's the truth, right? Vague contracts, just kind of like me, don't age gracefully. They decay, and when they do, they create risk, drain resources, and they put a little strain on the relationship too.
I think, John, you want a compliment.
I do.
You
I need one. Remember, you're living to 500. I'm got one foot in the grave already. So that's how
Oh,
we
I
do it.
don't know. But no, you're aging gracefully. You're like a fine wine. You're getting better with age. You're absolutely not cheese. Cheese gets stinkier. But you, my friend, you are a fine wine. I think you needed this today, right?
I probably did. Thank you. I'm so glad we're here.
Anytime. That's why we're friends. But to the point of Apple, ambiguity is not a loophole you will fix later. It's an argument waiting to happen. And in this case, it happened nearly 30 years later.
Yeah. And then eventually, Apple Inc. had enough. They were in the middle of transforming how the world would access music. And this legal battle was the distraction they couldn't afford.
Yeah, so guess what? They did what many companies end up doing when the contract is too broken to fix. They paid for peace.
Yeah, it was quite a bit of money too, right? So Apple Inc. bought the full rights to the Apple trademark in the music space and reportedly paid Apple Corp 500 million bucks just to own what they thought they had already settled. How about that?
Yep, you pay more for what you think you already have. This wasn't just a payout, it was an expensive lesson in the cost of unclear boundaries. One word, one concept, 3 decades of conflict, $500 million to resolve it.
It's crazy. And how the irony? How about the irony in this? The original contract put in place to avoid lawsuits. Instead, it institutionalized them. So big mistake.
Yes, sometimes your so called solution is just a deferred litigation. Contracts don't exist to delay pain, they exist to avoid it entirely through clear mutual understanding. So, how do you make sure your next contract doesn't turn into, I don't know, a 30-year legal saga? Let's talk about that. I think I have about 3 lessons, and I definitely want to kind of talk about it. Lesson number one, define everything that seems obvious. Never assume a shared understanding. Define music, distribution, use, platform, and especially any industry specific terms. Include examples. Clarify edge cases. Lesson two, future proof your scope clauses. Don't draft for the world today. Definitely don't draft for the world yesterday. Draft for the world as it might be tomorrow. Next tech, new format, new delivery channels. That is what history predicts will continue happening. Right with expansion in mind. That is how you even have a shot. And lesson three, build a revisit clause. Contracts should evolve. I mean, I am not the same person I was yesterday, and I'm definitely not the same person as I was a year ago. And 20 years ago, Olga was a totally different person. Contracts are kind of similar because they document human agreements and behaviors. Include a clause that requires periodic review or allows renegotiation. If certain triggers occur or things come up or, the world changes. Like launching a new business, or entering a new vertical, you need to give yourself a room to grow and your contract to support you on that journey.
Yeah, great tips. So on the legal side, and then really from the sales and partnership side, here's three other ones, right? Stop rushing vague contracts across the line. If you don't understand a clause, chances are your partner doesn't either. You ask, you get it clarified. We'll cut that part out too.
Look at us.
What was that? What the heck was that? Cut. All right, we'll try that again. Thanks, Olga. Three great tips from the legal side, and no question, valuable. On our side, from the sales and partnership, here's your list. Stop rushing vague contracts across the line. If you don't understand a clause, chances are your partner doesn't either. Ask, clarify, and close smarter. 2, ask your lawyers to show you what's ambiguous. Give them permission to flag what's vague, and better yet, ask them what they would argue if they were on the other side of the table. That's where the risk actually lives. And then finally, number 3, push for examples in the did it again, Olga? Are you kidding me?
You just like to hear yourself talk.
Wow, that's awful. How in the world that happen? All right, number 3, push for examples in the appendix, even simple ones. We agree not to engage in X activities such as clarity doesn't mean length. It means shared expectations.
Yeah, and for lawyers, we have to stop treating undefined terms like placeholders. They are really, let's call it what they are, landmines. If contract rests on interpretation, it will eventually rest in litigation.
Yeah, not good. So, as coming to the end, a couple closing thoughts. So, Apple built the most valuable brand, arguably in the world at that point, right? But to do that, they had to buy their own name, not once, but twice.
Yeah, sometimes smart people pay twice because the original deal left room for interpretation. And when you leave room for interpretation, guess what? You invite conflict and cost into your life and you pay twice.
Ugliness. And to that point, clarity, it's not about being picky, it's about being proactive. Every term you define today is one you don't have to fight tomorrow.
Yeah, at Terms Guide, we believe contracts should be read, understood, and trusted by all sides. That means precision, transparency, and most of all, shared definition that stand the test of time.
It's an awesome story. I think great takeaways today. And we want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Secret Lives of Contracts. Subscribe, follow, stay with us as we decode the deals that built the modern world, Olga.
Yeah, and remember, clarity is not a luxury. It is the cheapest insurance policy you will ever write. So draft it like one.
We're out.